Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into one of Indian history's most fascinating and consequential rivalries, the ideological clash between two absolute titans, Mahatma Gandhi and Subhas Chandra Bose.
They both wanted the exact same thing, a free India. But their ideas on how to get there couldn't have been more different. And that fundamental opposition, well, it set the stage for one of the most dramatic political conflicts in the nation's history.
So the big question is, how did two of India's most celebrated patriots, two of its greatest sons, end up as such fierce political rivals? To really get that, we need to go back and understand the core philosophies that drove each of these incredible men.
Okay, let's start with Section 1. 2 leaders, 1 goal. Now, at the height of the freedom struggle, you have to remember both Gandhi and Bose were just these towering figures inside the Indian National Congress. Both of them were rallying millions to the cause.
And even though they worked side by side in the same organization, their deeply held beliefs on how to deal with the British Empire were just polar opposites. A collision was pretty much inevitable. Section 2, when paths diverged. And by the late 1920s, those philosophical differences, they started to show. You started to see these very public cracks forming, splitting the movement into two very distinct camps. So for Gandhi, everything, and I mean everything, was rooted in Satyagraha, which literally means truth force. For him, the way you did something was just as important as the end result. He truly believed that victory could only be won through moral strength, and that striking an enemy when they were weak, like during a war, was just an impure act. It violated the very soul of nonviolent resistance. Bose, on the other hand, a totally different playbook. He was a pure pragmatist, a believer in realpolitik. His philosophy was much simpler. An enemy's enemy is a friend. Having seen Europe on the brink of another war, he didn't see it as a crisis. He saw it as a golden opportunity for India to exploit Britain's weakness and finally strike for freedom. And you can see these early clashes playing out. During the debate over the 1928 Nehru Report, Gandhi's faction was okay with accepting Dominion status, sort of a self-rule within the British Empire. But Bose? Absolutely not. He was uncompromising. He demanded Purna Swaraj, complete and total independence. It just goes to show, his radical stance was there long before their final break. Which brings us to Section 3, the ultimate Congress conflict. By 1939, all this simmering tension was about to boil over. It just erupted into this direct, public, and pretty messy confrontation at the Tripura Congress session.
This was an incredibly bold move. Bose decided to run for a second term as president, and he did it on a radical platform. Give the British a 6-month ultimatum to get out of India or face an immediate nationwide struggle. This was a direct shot at the slow, cautious approach that Gandhi and the Congress Old Guard preferred.
And the first few months of 1939, wow, they were just a whirlwind of political drama. Bose actually wins a Democratic election against Gandhi's hand-picked candidate. But what happened next was a masterclass in political maneuvering that left him completely isolated and triggered a crisis that would change the freedom movement forever. Gandhi's public reaction changed everything. By declaring Patabi's defeat is my defeat, he completely reframed the election. Suddenly, it wasn't a political victory for Bose anymore. It was now seen as a personal rejection of Gandhi's own authority and his entire philosophy. So even with this popular mandate from the party's own members, Bose was politically cornered. This Pant resolution made it impossible for him to form his own leadership team without Gandhi's approval, and he knew that approval was never going to come. When even his old allies backed away, Bose was left completely and utterly isolated.
And that leads us right into Section 4, 2 different destinies. After he resigned from Congress, these two leaders would now walk radically different paths, but each one was still aiming for the exact same goal, a free India.
And their paths just split completely. Bose escapes house arrest, chooses exile, forms a military alliance, and ends up leading the Indian National Army against the British. Gandhi, meanwhile, stays in India and launches his largest ever mass civil disobedience campaign, the 1942 Quit India movement. So, Section 5, respect for each other. And this is where the story gets really, really interesting. Because for all the bitter politics, for all the profound disagreements, a deep personal respect between these two men, it never truly died. Just let this sink in for a second. From a radio broadcast in Singapore, while he was leading an army allied with the Axis powers to wage war on the British, It was Subhas Chandra Bose who became the very first person to call Gandhi the father of our nation. That single phrase tells you everything about the profound respect that was still there.
You see this complexity in their personal letters. Gandhi would write to Bose with real affection, at one point even offering to nurse him back to health, all while completely opposing his political methods. It wasn't just a simple rivalry. It was this tragic disagreement between two patriots who on some level still really cared for one another.
Okay, our final section, an unresolved question. And so, the legacy of this clash of titans leaves us with one of modern Indian history's most compelling and maybe unanswerable questions.
It's really the ultimate what-if of Indian history, isn't it? What if they had found a way to work together? Could that combination of Gandhi's mass moral movement and Bose's fierce, uncompromising militarism, could that have won independence sooner? Could their united leadership have prevented the tragic partition of India? These are the questions historians still debate today, and they force us all to reflect on the path India took, and maybe the one it left behind.